संस्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। So we were studying almost in the last portion of the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, where we find that Bhagavan is explaining the procedure of acquiring the knowledge which speaks of that unitary experience where the entire creation is experienced as the manifestation of the divine, is the Brahman and Brahman alone, which is manifesting as this entire creation. So it's not just a mere intellectual concept. This is the knowledge when it dawns in our mind, when we get illumined with that knowledge. What are the results? That itself shows that it is not mere intellectual knowledge. It speaks of the total overhauling of your personality. It speaks of the total transformation of your character. And that's the thing which he is indicating in the last few slokas of the 4th chapter of Shrimad Bhagavad Gita. So, in the 37th sloka, which we were studying in the last class, with that we will start our discussion today. So what he's saying that the result, what is the utilitarian value of such knowledge? That as we were indicating in the last class, that even a fool cannot be motivated for some action unless there is some utilitarian value, some purpose behind it. So here Bhagavan enunciates the purpose behind the pursuit for this knowledge, which do have some utilitarian value. So what are those utilities? What are those purposes? The 37th sloka of the 4th chapters speaks of that. Yatha edhangsi samidhogni bhasmasat kurute arjuna jnanagni sarvakarmani bhasmasat kurute tatha. So as the fire which is well kindled. So yatha edhangsi samidhogni. Samidha is the fuel. That as the fire well kindled reduces the wood, the samidha, into what? Into bhasma, into ashes. So a well kindled fire reduces the wood, the firewood, into ashes. So similarly, jnanagni, the fire of knowledge, sarva karmani, bhasmasat, the fire of knowledge burns down all the actions which we have accrued in the process of our transmigration, in the process of our transmigratory journey from life to life. So it's bhasmasat kurute tatha. So in the same way, we remember that once Girish Chandra Ghosh came to Sri Ramakrishna and told that I have done so many misdeeds. What's the way out? And Sri Ramakrishna just told a very interesting thing. That suppose there is a huge mountain of cotton. It's a huge mountain. It's almost the size of the Himalayas. But it is made of cotton. It needs just a small flash. It needs just a small flash to burn down the entire mountain. So the knowledge is like that. Just a flash of that knowledge can burn down all the karmas which has been spoken of in our scriptures that we accrue in the process of transmigration. So, in our scriptures they speak of 3 types of karma: sanchita, kriyamana and prarabdha. That whatever actions we do, why we do the actions? all our actions are motivated either by desire, this raga, this attachment, or dvesha, or abhinivesha. That from the microbe to the human being, you'll find all the actions from where these actions originate. That because of ignorance, I think that I am this body-mind complex, and somehow all the creatures think that being the body-mind complex, I want to enjoy eternity and all fulfillment through this body-mind complex. It happens because of the ignorance, the echo which is coming from the body-mind complex that makes us feel that it can be realized through this body-mind complex. Now, once we have that type of motivation to realize eternity, to realize all fulfillment through this body-mind complex, what happens? That whatever sustains it, whatever nourishes it, we get drawn towards them, and that entails in some karma. And again, if something which harms it, which is detrimental for its existence, we hate it, and if we find it is overpowering, we run away from it. So that is what's spoken of as raga. Raga is the attachment, dvesha is the hatred, and abhinivesha speaks of running away. I am so much attached to life that I constantly try to run away from death. Death is overpowering. I know it is waiting for me. Constantly we are trying to run away from it. All our actions, as the scripture says, is because of these three. That because of ajnana comes asmita, from asmita comes raga, dvesha, abhinivesha. And these actions, the moment I am doing these actions, they are not lost. They are all stored in my psyche. The moment you are drawn towards something, your actions becomes karma sanskara, your desires becomes that also becomes the sanskara. This jnana sanskara and karma sanskara. The sanskara of knowledge. When I know that the donut is delicious, for the first time I had it, it becomes a sanskara. There is a jnana sanskara. And then another sanskara is there. That whenever I see that delicacy, I am drawn towards it. I try to have it. That speaks of the karma sanskara. So the jnana sanskara and the karma sanskara. So these sanskaras are what? They are something like the stored memory files in our psyche. Whatever you do, it's not lost. Just in the computer, when you are working on the computer, whatever you are typing, you will find that there's an option called auto save. It gets saved. So nowadays you can save all the things. So whatever I'm doing, it's saved in the psyche. Whenever you get favorable circumstances, they again pop up in your conscious mind. They're all stored, hidden, and they again pop up. Just like when you open a file in your computer, whenever it's necessary, they're all stored. You can again revive them back as they're stored. So similarly in our psyche, everything is stored as per the circumstances, as per the situation of life. The particular memories get popped up and we act accordingly. So this is what speaks of all the sanchita karma. All the sanchita karma. Of all the sanchita karma, a few will start manifesting at a particular time. Just even in our day-to-day life we can understand that I have so many sanchita, this sanskaras, the latent impressions in my mind, all are not popping up at the same time. So when we are sitting in the shrine, just listening to some discourses, or we are praying, a particular type of sanskara is hidden in our mind. That manifests. Getting that favorable circumstances, it will manifest. So when you are, with your friends, when you are in some family get-together, a particular type of sanskara, as based on that circumstances, they will pop up. So just when you are working in your computer, as per the necessity, the particular file which you need, that is the thing which you are opening. So psyche also, this like files, this sanskars opens up as per the situation, as per the need. So at a particular time, in a particular life, as per that life entails, a few of those sanchita, a lot of sanchita karmas are there. A few will manifest, not all will manifest. That examples which we give, that a student is good in all the subjects. He has developed the sanskara, the latent tendency to be interested in all the subjects. He is good in social science, he or she is good in mathematics, science, whatever the subjects, literature. But when he goes to the uni, he now chooses a particular subject. Most probably he has gone to the medical college. Now, of all the subjects, now only the biological science will get the prominence. Though he was interested in school in all the subjects, they are there, but they are all dormant. Being in that medical college, as per that situation, as per the circumstances, only the interest in medical science will now get prominence. Other will become dominant. So the same thing happens in our life. That of all the sanchita karma, based on the life in which we are born, a few of those entire gamut of our sanskaras will manifest. And those are the prarabdhas that on which we are working. And not only that, even in this life, constantly we are acting based on the past impressions. They are again creating new karma. Because the more you act on your samskaras, the deeper is the groove in your mind, the deeper is the samskara, the more latent impressions you are creating, which will manifest again in the future. So the kriyamana karma is also called agami karma. What I am doing, it again will yield result in the future. So these are the three types of karma which has been spoken of in the scripture. So when here Bhagavan is saying that the knowledge destroys all the karma, it actually do destroy all the karma, but immediately what it destroys is the sanchita and the kriyamana karma. These two it destroys immediately. But the prarabdha has to be exhausted. It also will be exhausted because of jnana, but not immediately. Because of the past momentum with which it has started, it has to be exhausted. That's the example which we give. When the fan is revolving, if you want to switch off the fan, when you switch it off, what happens? The fan continues to revolve for some time before it stops. So though you have switched off, there is no driving force behind it, but because of the past momentum, it will be revolving for some time to stop at last. So prarabdha karma is something like that. That once you have switched off the connection of your desires, the desires has fallen off. Because of the jnana, you know that you are already fulfilled. You are the Atman. It was because of ignorance you were considering the ego to be the real. That you were saying, the Atman was saying, I am eternal. I am always fulfilled. And this was echoed from the body-mind complex. Just the way when I stand in front of the mountain, I shout my name, I feel as if someone is calling me from the mountains. So it is something similar to that. That it is we, the real self, which is constantly asserting that it is eternal. It is all fulfilled. It has no desires. It is always fulfilled. And this is echoed from the body. As the self is being reflected in the body, it is echoed from the body, and the self gets deluded. It thinks the body is saying, I am eternal. I am always fulfilled. And now it tries to realize that eternity, that fulfillment through the body. From the jnana, what the jnana speaks of, the moment you realize that you are the self, now you find that this eternal chase for this attaining eternity and fulfillment through the body-mind complex is futile. It's not needed because I'm already fulfilled. I'm already eternal. This was just a vain attempt because of ignorance. Somehow, because of ignorance, I associated myself with the body-mind complex, and that endeavor to find fulfillment through the body-mind complex was going on as if through eternity, through births together. That immediately stops because of the jnana. But as we were saying, the prarabdha, the actions which have started finding its expression in this life, because of the momentum which it has gathered, it has to be exhausted to at last render you freedom. So that's why they speak of two types of mukti. One is Jivan Mukti and another is the Atyantika Mukti. What is Jivan Mukti? The moment you go to that realization through your spiritual endeavor, when that happens in the flash of a moment, that's why it was called that Yatha Idhangsi Samidhogni, just like a spark. In a flash, when that realization comes through your practice, you realize that you are the self. Immediately, all the Sanchita and the Kriyamana Karma, they stop yielding result. But the Prarabdha has to be exhausted. And as long as the Prarabdha is not exhausted, you are still free. Why you are free? That though the Prarabdha is still continuing to yield its result, but you have already developed the awareness that you are not the body-mind complex. So you are no more identified with it. So the body-mind complex is going through. It's all there's the results which has to accrue because of its prarabdha. It is going on. But you feel you are not the body-mind complex. You are separate from it. You are just witnessing it. So the idea of the body-mind complex as a subject has fallen off. It is just like an object. Just the way I see any other object, I see my body-mind complex is going through all those experiences which I in no way am identified to. I'm just the witness. So you are still mukta. You are not in that. As Sri Ramakrishna, when he was suffering from cancer, the terrible pain he was having in his throat, when anyone is to ask him, "Sir, how are you feeling?" his answer used to be that "Shorir tar dukkho jane, mon tumi anande thako." That the body is going through its suffering. Mind be at peace, because the mind is now identified with the self. So it is in no way identified with the suffering. It has transcended the suffering. It has not annihilated the suffering. You will find in our life, most of our spiritual pursuit is to annihilate the suffering. That by praying to God, I will get rid of disease, I will get rid of suffering. But the real spirituality doesn't speak of getting rid of them. They are there. The body-mind complex has to go through them. Guna guneshu vartanta. As long as the body-mind complex is there, it has to interact with the world, with the senses. I cannot stop that. It has to go on. But I am detached. I am in no way having an idea of identification with it. So that's why it speaks of the state of Jivan Mukti. That though outwardly people see you are suffering, but from the bottom of your heart you know you are not suffering. As the king Janaka, when the entire Mithila was on fire, and when the king, someone just went to make the king aware of the fact that the kingdom is in fire, it is your kingdom. So for any king, it's a question of big suffering. But we find that the king Janaka, being a realized soul, sitting from the heights of his realization, what he's saying? Mithilayam pradagdhayam name daihati kinchana. It is the Mithila that is burning, that it doesn't burn me even just a little. Name daihati kinchana. Mithila. It is the Mithila that is burning. It's not me. So that's the idea. It's not a sadistic thing. The idea is that I am in no way attached to it. The happenings of life will go on. I have transcended. I have not annihilated them. It goes on. I have transcended them. I in no way am attached to them. So that's the question. That's the state of Jivan Mukti. And when your prarabdha is exhausted with your death, then there is no more rebirth. Then all the karmas have been exhausted. You become identified with your real self. And that's the idea of Atyantika Mukti. So these are the two things which have been spoken of in our scriptures. Jivan Mukti, Atyantika Mukti. So with the dawn of knowledge, this first comes the Jivan Mukti with the exhaustion of, with the annihilation of the Sanchita Karma and the Kriyamana Karma. And with the death, even the Prarabdha is also exhausted. So no more karma remains, and that's been indicated by the term Sarva Karmani Bhasmasat Kurute Tatha. In the last class also we were indicating there's a nice example in Vedanta to explain these three types of karma. This sanchita karma, prarabdha karma and kriyamana karma. So what's the example they give? That an archer, a hunter, has a lot of arrows in the quiver in his shoulder. Those who are archers, they will have all the arrows in a quiver in the shoulder, they will have it. And they have a bow in their hand. Now this hunter saw a bird sitting in the branch of a tree, so he took his bow and from the quiver he just brought one arrow. From the quiver he brought one arrow and he just fixed it on his bow and shot it, aimed at the bird and shot it. So the arrow was yet to hit the mark, was yet to pierce the bird, as if, because that is what he has aimed at. He thought, maybe I may miss it. The arrow may not hit the mark. So to be sure, he took the second arrow. And even before the first arrow has hit the mark, he has took the second arrow and put it on the bow just to strike it. And the Vedanta says, just at that moment, the sense of non-violence became something prominent in his mind. Oh, I shouldn't killing other animals. It's not something which I should do. So what happens now, once that realization comes, that I have to be ahimsa, I shouldn't kill others. Now the arrow which he was going to shoot, which he has already put in his bow, he is not going to shoot it anymore. So that is the kriyamana karma. So that is not going to be exhausted anymore. All the arrows which are in his quiver, they are also not going to be used anymore, because he has that the idea of ahimsa, that non-violence has dawned in his mind. So they are not going to be used. They are the sanchita. The one which was going to shoot, that is kriyamana, that also is not going to be used. But the arrow which he has already shot, which is yet to hit the mark, he has no control over that. Whether he will miss it or whether he will hit the mark, whatever the result be, that is no more in his control, because he has already shot, it has already gathered its momentum. If the aim is perfect, it will hit the bird or it will miss it. Whatever be the result, he has no control over that. It has to be exhausted, and that is the prarabdha karma. But once it is exhausted, now there is no more karma remaining. So now he is free. So because of the jnana, so that's the wonderful example which we find is being exemplified in Vedanta. And Sri Ramakrishna, as in the last class we said, he in a very jokingly, he used to say a very interesting thing, that in the scriptures it is mentioned with the knowledge that all your actions gets exhausted. And then he's saying, but prarabdha doesn't get exhausted immediately. It has to be expended as long as its momentum is there. You have to go through it. And then he's saying, a blind man just with a resolution to wash off his sins, took a dip in the Ganges. The belief is that the Ganges washes off all our sins. So Sri Ramakrishna, in a very funny way, he's saying that yes, all his sins are washed off, but his blindness is because of his prarabdha. So that remains. That is not that he will just start seeing. The blindness remains, but yes, his sins are all washed off. The blindness is because of the prarabdha. So that's the idea which we find in this sloka, which Bhagavan is indicating, that the knowledge destroys all the sin. That once the knowledge dawns in, you know that you are the self, you are no more identified with the body-mind complex. So naturally, all the actions which result because of that ignorance, they just fall off, rendering you the ultimate freedom. So therefore, the 38th, the next verse, what is saying? So that what's the result of jnana? That's jnana is the highest purifying factor. There is nothing which can purify more than jnana. So generally, we have the idea of doing a lot of penances. You'll find that I have committed some sin, so I should do some penance. So here Bhagavan is asserting that know it for certain that knowledge alone is the highest purifying factor. Nothing else just can be compared to that ultimate this dawn of knowledge. Once it dawns in, all your sins are just washed away. So what's the sloka? Nahi jnanena sadrisham pavitram iha vidyate tat swayam yoga samsiddha kalena atmani vindati. The first line is Nahi jnanena sadrisham pavitram iha vidyate. So there is nothing more purifying than this knowledge. Because when the knowledge dawns in, immediately all your ignorance and the sins are washed off. Again we find Sri Ramakrishna is saying, Girish, it's another wonderful thing, that you say that you have committed so much of sin, and you think that how much of endeavor is required to get rid of them. And then Sri Ramakrishna is saying a very interesting thing. He's saying, suppose a cave is dark for millions of years. A cave, light has never entered in that cave for millions of years. So do you think it will take another millions years to light it? No. Just you enter there and you just strike a match, immediately the entire cave, which was dark for millions of years, immediately it gets lighted. So the ignorance vanishes in a flash. That how long you were in ignorance, that irrespective of that fact, that doesn't matter. The moment the knowledge flashes, immediately the darkness of ignorance vanishes, purifying you, making you pure. So that's the thing, that the knowledge destroys all the sins and the ignorance which is their cause. If the cause of the sin is ignorance. It's because of ignorance that all our actions we are doing, and those actions, when it is not because of our intense desire. What's the sin? Because of intense desire, the actions which we are doing, all the actions we are doing is because of ignorance. Now, as long as we are in ignorance, then dharma comes into picture. Okay, as long as you're in ignorance, you will be working as per your ignorance, but do it in a particular way so that the minimum harm is done to others. But because of our intense desire, we try to overrule those rules. What is sin? Sin is just like not following the traffic rules. It's almost like sin. That we all, as per our need, have to go to some destination. Every day morning I wake up. For my work, I have to go to certain destination. And of course, my wish is how fast I can go, isn't it? That I always want to be there as early as possible. But now others also want to go to the destination as early as possible. So there will be the clash of our interests. So if all wants to go to the destination first, there will be clash of interest. And that's why there's a signaling system. That okay, let all get the equal advantage. That sometimes you do get the green signal, sometimes you get the red signal, and that way all are getting the advantage. That's how your, that your individual interest is guided by the collective interest. But when we lose our points, when we get fined, when our individual interest is overruling the collective interest. I don't follow the traffic, I break the traffic rules. Even in spite of the red light, you cross. And of course, you will be losing your points. So sin is something like that. There is something called collective interest. The dharma is there to guide us that how to keep our individual interest subdued, governed by the collective interest. Whenever we are not doing, that is papa. All the papas are from that. So all these papas comes from where? From our some interest. And interest is because of our ignorance that I am this body-mind complex. So this speaks of the entire gamut of the sin which has been spoken of in our scriptures. So they all fall off. The moment your selfishness falls off, the sin falls off. As we were indicating, that in the English the word sin is very interesting. S-I-N. So literally the core of sin is I. because this I is between S and N. And even spiritually it is a thing. It is true that the core of sin is I. The more our sense of ego is strong, the more we are selfish, the more we are prone to sin. And what's spirituality? It is the falling of this idea of this limited I. As we have indicated, when Sri Ramakrishna, someone asked Sri Ramakrishna that when shall I be free? Immediately Sri Ramakrishna's answer was, when I within the inverted commas, when I cease to be. When shall I be free? When I cease to be. This Ami mukto hobo kobe, Ami jabe jabe. That's in Bengali. Its translation is, when shall I be free? When I cease to be. So this I is the core of all the sin. And this I is the result of ignorance. So when the ignorance falls off, so naturally all your sinful tendencies are bound to fall off. So that's the thing which has been indicated in this first line. So now we may say that, well, then let us understand this fact that I am Brahman, and the moment by reading the scriptures I realize that I am Brahman, I am free from all sins. So that's the thing which we will find even Sri Ramakrishna is warning us that it is not just that intellectual consent. It has to be realized, that realization should overhaul our personality. Our way we conduct our lives has to change totally. That has been indicated in the second line. Tat swayam yoga samsiddha kalena atmani vindati. It's not that just you intellectually understand that you are the Atman and your sins are washed off. No. It has to be a realization through your spiritual practices. Tat swayam yoga samsiddha. Through karma yoga, through nishkam karma yoga. That's the one. And another is this the practice of Sravana, Manana, Nididhyasana leading to Samadhi. These two should go hand in hand. That whenever, as per the responsibilities of life, I have to do my actions, I do it without any desires. And whenever I get time for my contemplation, that the contemplation of the real nature of myself, that should lead to that intense absorption leading to Samadhi. And then only that realization dawns in. And when that realization dawns in, then only kalena atmani, it takes time. It's not just a matter of your intellectual consent. So that's the thing which has been indicated, as if Bhagavan is warning us. Once he says this jnana purifies us, immediately we may have the idea, oh, the moment by reading the scriptures, I know I am Brahman, I am purified. Nothing else has to be done. This is the wrong notion which we find even many sadhus have. Even in Dakshineshwar, there was a sadhu living nearby, and he was not leading a very holy life, pure life. He developed some illicit relations. And when someone asked him, is it proper for you to being a sadhu, you're having all this sort of relations, illicit relation? And his answer was that this entire world is false. Ye jagat maya hai. Is all these relations are true? These are also false. When Swami Ramakrishna heard this, his face became red. He was so angry. He told, I spit on such Vedanta, So that's so you will get this idea. This after saying this jnana, that nahi jnanena sadrisham pavitram iha vidyati. First line he says that nothing is as purifying as this jnana. But don't think that just you intellectually understand and you have get purified. That's why yoga sansiddha kalena atmani vindati. It takes time, kala. Through your practice, you get seasoned, you get mellowed, you get established in that knowledge that has become internalized. If you know your Atman, your Brahman, that for that, to know that, you have already gone through the process of purifying. That say, Sri Ramakrishna is giving a very nice example that all our impurities has to be washed off. First, the mind has to be pure by the contemplation on that you are Atman. And then at last that realization dawns in. So now in your mind, all the impurities have already been washed away because of your practice. What remains is only that pure samskara, that I am divine. For such a person, how can he commit sin? Because to go to the realization, first you have to cleanse off all the wrongdoings and get established in that contemplation that I am the self. At last you go beyond the mind. But when you come back to your mind after the realization, after that flash, in your mind what remains is only the pure thought. In Yoga Sutra, this idea of purification has been explained with the concept of parinama, that the mind, how it transforms. So they speak of three types of states of the mind: sarvarthata, ekagrata, nirodha. What's that? That you will easily understand. That sarvarthata is the distracted mind, the monkey mind. It is always distracted. Now I start practicing meditation, ekagrata. I start practicing ekagrata. And I find it so difficult. Now and then my concentration is broken because of all those distracted thoughts. They come and they pop up. Why they pop up? Because my subconscious mind is full of them. My conscious attempt to keep my mind fixed in one thought is very weak compared to that subconscious impressions. So subconscious impressions will be just bubbling up and breaking my mind again to the distraction. Now you may say that concentration is impossible. If my resolution is so weak compared to my subconscious mind, what's the use of meditation? So here the scriptures indicate a very wonderful thing, that how all those distractions have entered into your subconscious mind, how they have entered. In this life or in some previous life, you have thought them consciously. The only way to enter the subconscious, the samskaras to enter the subconscious mind is through conscious mind. That what I do consciously today, that goes to the subconscious mind. So because of ignorance, so many things I was doing, which has entered into my subconsciousness, and they are the cause of all the distractions. So they have been saturating my subconscious mind, but they have entered to the conscious mind. So now I have got the idea that I am the self. I have to meditate and realize that. So what I am doing? Ekagrata. I take one idea, that Aham Brahmasmi, I am the self. Or if you are a devotee of God, you are constantly trying to meditate on God. That also is as good as the idea of Aham Brahmasmi. How? That when you say Aham Brahmasmi, what is the idea? You are negating your idea of limited individuality. The idea that I was born at certain point of time, I am going to die at certain point of time, and I am going through these changes as long as I am living, that idea I negate. I know that I am that self, I am that Trikal Avadita Satya, I was, I am, I will be, and there is no transformation in me, I am eternal. So that's what Aham Brahmasmi means. And when as a devotee you are meditating on God, what's the idea? The same idea. God is eternal, He was, He is, He will be. I am eternal, was, I am, I was, I am, I will be. This life is just a passing phase. My relationship with the divine is eternal. So there also, I am actually negating the idea of this limited self. A devotee is also constantly negating the idea of limiting self. So all your ekagrata is a negation of the idea of the limited self. So when for the first time, I got that idea and I'm trying to meditate, I find the distractive thoughts comes and just takes away that ekagrata. It just throws away that ekagrata. Then what's the way out? Now this conscious attempt has to go on. That Swamiji says the 3P is the entire sanam bonam of spiritual journey. Purity, patience, perseverance. So I have to persevere. That even if I fail, again I have to try. If I fail, why? Because the clue is all the thing which is saturating my subconscious mind has entered through the conscious mind. So now though this attempt is weak, but if I go on attempting again and again, this also will gradually seep into the subconscious mind, cleansing of the subconscious of all the distractive thoughts. This will go and start saturating. All the distractions will start falling off. Sarvarthata. The distractions will start falling off. They will be just washed away, and this ekagrata will start saturating my subconscious mind. So the example which we give, the cup is full of turgid contents, impure water. It is full to the brim. Now you start pouring pure water into that cup. So what will happen? Thus all the turgid contents will start getting washed away. It will just spill over. And the water, all the turgidity will get diluted. At last you will find the turgidity is reducing. At last only pure water is there. All the turgid water has been spilled over, has washed off. So as you are pouring that pure water, so this pouring of pure water is the ekagrata. So a time will come, now your mind is full of ekagra vritti. But that is not the last. Still you are with the mind. You are thinking, aham brahmasmi, that's the idea. But this idea, aham brahmasmi, it knocks off your ego. The ego with which your mind is connected. So this at last knocks off. Or and then what happened? Even in another way you can understand that in one thought the mind can never remain. The mind has to jump from one thought to other. The moment it is in one thought, it tends to go to the state of thoughtlessness. In this world, everything is flowing because of polarity. Water flows from higher to lower level. If both the levels are same, there is no flow. Current flows because of the difference of potential. If the both ends have same potential, no current. Similarly, the mind is mind because it can jump from thought to thought. If somehow you can have same thought, the mind stops. So when you can really have one thought and that has concentrated your mind, a time will come because of that intensive one thought, the mind will tend to go to that state of thoughtlessness. No thought. And that's when, like a flash, the knowledge comes. The mind, like the prism, has fallen off for the time being. The consciousness, which in association with the prism was breaking into the spectrum of this world of name and form, it's no more there for the time being. But now an interesting thing is there. Your subconscious mind is full of that ekagra vritti. So though you go to that state of thoughtlessness, this ekagra vritti, just the way when your mind was full of sarvartha, the distraction, they used to pop up to break your ekagrata. Now you're this state of this nirodha, the state where there is no thought, this thoughtless state, it is broken by this ekagra vritti. They come up, they break it, and that's the prarabdha. Now you have to finish off that. So now you will understand that when a man has once even gone to that realization, there is no question of resorting to any evil actions, because sarvartha has already washed away. Your subconscious mind is now full of ekagra vritti. You are full of divine thought. They will come and break your thoughtless state. So there is no question of resorting back to all those papa karma. Impossible. So he has already been transformed. So that's the idea, that there is nothing as purifying as jnana. But that jnana is not something which you understand intellectually. Through this process of yoga, through the process of nishkama karma and contemplation, sravana, manana, nidhyasana, leading to samadhi, this only can take you to that jnana, and that is a matter of practice. That's why kalena atmani. It's a process. It takes time. So why he's saying this second line? Just to warn us that don't think when I say jnana, that jnana is just the intellectual knowledge. This intellectual knowledge has to ripen into realization. That's today's imagination. Now I am saying I am Brahman, it is just mere imagination. That today's imagination should become tomorrow's realization. So this is the line repeated again and again by Swami Turiyananda in his letters. Today's imagination should become tomorrow's realization. So it has to be realized. And when I now say I am Brahman, it is just an imagination. You have not realized. Just reading the scriptures, I am just repeating those words, I am imagining. I don't know the real purport of it. So till I know the real purport of it, there is no jnana. And unless that real jnana has happened, there cannot be the real cleansing. So that's why Bhagavan is to warn us, is indicating Tat Swayam Yoga Samsiddha. It is attainable through yoga, through this nishkama karma. You cleanse your mind, the chitta shuddhi will happen, and along with that, your contemplation on yourself, these two should go hand in hand, taking you to that realization, and then the real jnana will dawn in to purify you for once for all from all the sins. There's no more, nothing remains then. So then the surest means of acquiring that knowledge, that ultimate knowledge, is being spoken of in the 39th verse. What it is saying? Shraddhavan. So whenever we speak of this, the first question comes, is it really attainable? Everywhere we find when we say that this through meditation you can attain that state, we immediately say that is it really practical? Is it really practical? Is it attainable? So that's why first word is used, that we have to get rid of the doubt, Shraddhavan. So when you go to the doctor says this is the medicine you have to take for 2 weeks. And if you are having the doubt and you don't take to this, after taking for 1 day or 2 days, you find there is no effect, and you just simply stop taking that medicine, are you going to be cured from the disease? No. So Shraddha is required there, that yes, the doctor has prescribed some diet, prescribed some medicine, I have to follow it for a certain course of time. And then only the question of getting cured comes. So here also that Shraddha in spiritual life, that it is a matter of patience, perseverance. It's a journey. I have to have patience. It's not that in 1 day I'm going to that state. I have to persevere and I have to have patience. And that's the thing which has been indicated as Shraddha. That unless you have Shraddha, you have faith, you can never persevere. You can never be patient. So Shraddhavan labhate jnana. So this jnana is only attainable the one who has Shraddha. Tatpara. This Tatpara speaks of perseverance. Tatpara. That once you have faith, now you act upon it. You repeatedly go on trying. Tatpara. Tatpara, the zeal. It speaks of the zeal. How much zeal you have. As in the Yoga Sutra. There's a very nice sutra. That after speaking of the process through which we can go to the state of realization, naturally the question comes that when it is going to happen, that how long it will take. And the answer is this Tivra Sangveganam Asana. This is one of the sutras, very nice sutra. Tivra Sangveganam. It depends on your intensity. The more intensity you have, the more yearning you have, the more quickly you go attain the goal. So how intensely you are really urging for it. There's a very nice Hindi song that Tera vanat vanat bani jai, Hari prem se lagi raho re bhai, Tera banat banat bani jai. Just go on, go on practicing devotion to Hari, to the Lord, in gradual course. Banat banat bani jai. In gradual, you go on practicing. At certain time, you will realize that you will be transformed. Sri Ramakrishna never liked this song. What do you mean by Banat Banat Banija? He used to say. You should have the tremendous urge that now immediately have to realize. If you just feel it will happen, it will never happen. You have to feel it has to happen just now. So that's the idea of Tatpara. You have to have that zeal that it has to happen in this life. That's why even in our order, they say whenever you sit for meditation, before starting your meditation, you pray or you should take a resolve that in this very life, I should have to realize this goal. It's not Banat Banat Banijai, in this very life. So that is the idea of the Tatpara. You have to be Shraddhavan, Tatpara, and of course Sangyatendriya. That unless you subdue your senses, Shama follows Dhamma. That once you calm down your mind, then only you can subdue your senses. Not the opposite way. I cannot simply forcefully subdue my senses. First, the mind has to be calmed down. The mind has to be calmed down with the idea that the realization is possible. I have to get identified with the self. I have to be identified with the divinity, which is the core of my being. So that is possible in this life. For that, I have to stop my sensate pursuits. And that's the idea of Sangyatendriya. So Shama is followed by Dhamma. So you are Sangyatendriya. And then through this process, only you at last you can attain that jnana, which can give you the ultimate shanti, the peace, the tranquility. Jnanam labdhva parang shantim achirena adhigacchati. This process is quite assiduous, but the moment you attain the jnana, then immediately, like a flash, all your struggles are over. You reach that peaceful state of your existence. So when, if you go to the, in India, in most of the seashores, you will find the fishermen. The fishermen, the poor fishermen, they have small boats, very small boats. With those boats, they will go into the deep water of the ocean to fish. Now, it's very difficult because of the huge waves. But the fishermen know that if you can go a bit deep into the ocean, the waves are no more there. It's all calm. The oceans are only in the shore. It's in the bank. So they will find it's very interesting thing. With the small boats, they try again and again. They will just try to cross that barrier of the waves. They try once, they fail. The waves come and throw them back. Again they try. Twice, thrice. And at last you find they have reached. They have reached this calm waters, and then they can enjoy the fishing. So here in the spiritual practice also, they say that achirena, they speak of achirena means in a flash you are going to get that peace. And we think, oh, today I sit for meditation, I'm going to get peace. No. First you have to break that barrier, the wave barriers of your mind. In our mind also, in the shore of our mind, in the depth of our existence, it is all calm. In the shores of our existence, these thoughts like the waves are constantly breaking into the shores of our existence. We have to cross through them. That achirena doesn't speak of when I'm attempting to cross that barrier. Achirena, that immediately it speaks of when you have already crossed. Now, there is no more wave. It is just eternal peaceful existence. And then once you have crossed that barrier, now nothing is there which is going to disturb you. The more you go deep into your psyche, the more you cross the surface of your psyche, go into the depth of it, you become one with the self. Then nothing can disturb you. So that's why to reach that state, you have to have Shraddha. That yes, it is possible to break. It is very difficult. But difficulty doesn't mean impossible. Difficulty, that if you translate the word difficulties, yes, it is possible. But it is not that easy. So it is difficult to climb the Everest, but it is not impossible. It is difficult to cross that barriers of waves, but it is not impossible. So this is Shraddha. With the Shraddha, that's faith in the teachings of the scriptures, in the word of the Guru, that only can lead to that practice, that endeavor. From the Sravana, it can lead to the Manana, the Nididhyasana. It's through that Shraddha. And then you have to have that Zil, Tatpara. That in this very life, I will do it. It's this Zil, that Tibra Samvega, you get that Mumukshutvam. As Sri Ramakrishna speaks of very interestingly, that his disciple asks the Guru, that I do have sincere yearning to realize the goal, but nothing is happening. The Guru never gave any answer. He just took him to the village pond to have a dip. And when both of them got down and the Guru was taking a dip, the disciple also took a dip, and suddenly the Guru thrust the disciple's head inside the water, not allowing him to come up. And he was suffocating. He was just suffocating because he was thirsted under the water. And when he was desperate to have a breath, and then at last the Guru released him. So he got up and had to just a deep breath. And then the Guru asked him, how were you feeling when I have thirsted you? Well, I was gasping for breath. I was in need for air. But do you feel for God that way? So that speaks of Tatpara. That do we feel that we are suffocating in this existence? If that type of feeling comes, know it for certain that realization is just waiting for you. As Sri Ramakrishna, as he says in the Gospel, that yearning is like the red hue of the dawn. In the dawn, in the early morning, you are yet to see the sun. The sun is not visible. But you see the entire sky is full of that red hue, is colored with that red hue. And you know that yes, this red hue I am seeing means just in a matter of few moments the sun will be visible. So that's why Sri Ramakrishna is saying that the yearning is like the red hue of the dawn. Know it for certain. When it is there, the sun will be visible. The realization is just waiting for you. And that's the idea of tatpara. And sangyatendriya, of course. This is previously it has been mentioned that how this jnana is attained through pranipata, through pariprashna, through seva. I have to go and bow down to the Guru, pranipata. Pariprashna, I have to ask him questions. I have to serve him personally. Now, here, he's saying that sangyatendriya. This speaks of something very interesting. That even so-called one who is not sincere, one who is a hypocrite, one who wants to make a show of religion, he can also go to a religious person, to a guru, and just do pranams. He can also, try to do some personal seva, and put some questions, pariprashna, pranipata, seva, all those he can do. But whether he's sincere or not, that is something which can be found out from this characteristic, that sangyatendriya. If he has really is sincere about his spiritual journey, that automatically the restraint should come. That's why he has indicated, after saying pranipata, praniprashna, pariseva, he is indicating this word sangyatendriya. This speaks of that real sincerity of purpose. And then one who has such sincerity, he alone can break that barrier of this wave barrier of our mind to reach the tranquility of your existence. Jnanam labdhva param shantim achirena adhigacchati. So this purity, patience, perseverance, this alone is the equation of our spiritual journey. So we should have that patience and persevere, constantly on trying, knowing it for certain with full shraddha that it is possible. It is not something impossible. It is possible. And that speaks of our faith in the Guru, faith in the scriptures. Otherwise, we all, whenever we come and bow down to the deity in the shrine or to a religious person, we may feel that I'm having shraddha, but that's not the real shraddha. The real shraddha is in the patience, in the perseverance, in the practice. So that's been spoken of here. And once through that practice we reach that goal, then that param shanti, the peacefulness, the tranquility which you reach, no one can take it away from you. Once you reach there, that's something which no one can take away from you. Even the world, in the entire world, and can just claim that what you have realized is false. But your conviction is so strong, even you will just simply overrule the world's dictum. You know, that has happened with all the mystics of all the religions. When they were persecuted because of their realization, they were totally unperturbed because they have reached that shanti where they know that even if this body is destroyed because of persecution, I am not destroyed. When Socrates, it was already decided that he will be killed. He has to be, this capital punishment, he has to take the poison. Now his disciples were, naturally, they were all dejected. And they were asking him his last wish, that after you die, how do you want your body to be? Whether it will be cremated or buried, what do you want it to be? And Socrates, this reply was wonderful, that the death cannot catch the real me. It cannot catch the real me. So, it's the body that will remain with you. So you do whatever as per the social norms. I have nothing to say about me. Because the thing which you are asking of, that what you want to do with me, you are saying what you want to do with me after I die. Well, the near me you cannot catch. That's already gone. So, the shanti, the real shanti, again speaks of transcendence. It doesn't speak of the real happenings of life. There was another very famous this philosopher. His name was Diogenes. He always used to say, the world is false, is all imagination. And now the young ones of that society, they thought, we'll have to teach him a lesson. We'll have to teach him a lesson. And these stories are wonderful. Then how to teach him a lesson? One day, they were extremely cruel. What they did, they tied him behind a chariot. And with a rope they tied him, and they made the chariot run on the street which was full of rock, and it was uneven, and he was dragged just behind the chariot a long distance, and naturally he was full of cuts and bruises, he was bleeding. And now they untied him and asked, do you say that the world is imaginary now? And Diogenes' reply was, yes, it's still imagination. It's a very painful imagination, but it's an imagination. So he has went to that realization. So it's like in a dream. The dream can be something pleasant, something unpleasant, but it's a dream. It doesn't affect the real me. So that's what the Diogenes says. So this Param Shanti speaks of that. These experiences may go on as it is in the life, but you have transcended them, knowing it for certain. They in no way affect the real me. They don't affect. So I have transcended that. And that's the idea of Param Shanti, which has been spoken of here. So with this, we stop our discussion today. So just another 2 or 3 verses remaining, we will take up again in the next class. So thank you all. Namaskar.